At the highest level, we're developing a trailer that propels itself. And so the concept here is if the vehicle is moving 60 miles per hour, the trailer is also moving 60 miles per hour. And so the goal would be to allow the user to get close to the original range that they get, or miles per gallon, with our system. In essence, developing an electric vehicle without a steering wheel.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to What's Next, Stories of Industry Reinvention by TechNexus Venture Collaborative. I'm Jim Dahlke.
And I'm Kayla Dusing.
And today we are bringing you a conversation with Riley and Justin Rodenburg, the co-founders of Wild, a startup that's invented a really impressive electric trailer platform that's a game changer in the way you tow your boats, RVs, and other heavy equipment.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. Wild has created an electric trailer platform that propels itself behind a towing vehicle. So its trailer actually has a built-in electric motor that allows drivers to achieve a normal driving range as if they were not even towing anything at all.
And what's so cool about this story, Riley and Justin, by the way, are twin brothers and have experience in the electric vehicle industry. So they saw firsthand the challenges that electric vehicles had when it came to towing basically anything. And oh, by the way, gas-powered vehicles have the same exact problem. And Wild is addressing this by creating an electric trailer that propels with you so you don't lose any of that mileage. And so what's so fascinating about this business is that it's going to absolutely revolutionize the way you think about camping and towing and travel in general.
Nice. So let's dive deeper into the Wild story and kick it over to your conversation with Riley and Justin. And let's learn more about how Wild is revolutionizing towing.
Riley and Justin, thanks so much for being here. We at TechNexus are investors in Wild, but I'm also so personally fascinated in watching you guys grow, knowing that, someday the next family road trip I take doesn't have to be such a pain to tow a boat or an RV across the country. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the Wild origin story. How did you guys come up with this idea?
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us. Our first podcast, so kind of exciting to create one after watching so many. Yeah, our origin story. We grew up, we're twin brothers, as you mentioned. We grew up in Colorado, so camping and nature was always kind of part of our story and our upbringing. We both really lived up this twin thing. So for myself, studied electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon, and then did some software engineering, discovered that wasn't really my thing, and then started at a startup in Detroit called Bollinger Motors that were doing electric trucks. And that was kind of the start of us seeing that there were some problems within the trailer space that could use some addressing. And that was around the time of the pandemic, and Justin and I had always talked about doing a startup together. And so we started Wild kind of with that backstory. Yeah, so same thing, like Riley mentioned. So I also, living this twin thing up, studied electrical and computer engineering. And after graduating, I had the unique opportunity of joining Rivian Automotive as a battery engineer. And so I also worked for an electric vehicle company. And while there, I saw how great of a truck it was, but how terrible of an experience towing was with that vehicle. Even though they had probably best in class range, you still lost around 50% of your range while towing. And so us having both started or joined an electric vehicle company, figured there's got to be a better solution to this problem, and that's where we started Wild.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys are EV industry veterans that saw this towing challenge really up close and personal. Kind of elaborate, right, on that severity of the range reduction, for an EV truck that's ready to tow a large load.
Yeah, so I mean, from our space, you lose roughly 50% of your range. So for most electric vehicles that get an average driving range of 300 miles, that means in best case scenario, where you deplete the whole battery, which is not very common, you'd be able to tow for 150 miles. So that makes it pretty impractical for most people to tow a trailer with an electric vehicle. And then as we explored this more and looked into doing more of a platform approach, we realized that this is an issue with gas vehicles as well. It's just towing is notoriously inefficient. And so you lose roughly 50% of your miles per gallon when towing with a truck too. And so, yeah, in general, it's not a great experience if you're looking for efficiency to tow.
Yeah, and if you're buying an electric truck, I mean, your price tag might be $100,000, and then all of a sudden, now you're going across the country to tow your boat or to tow your RV, and all of a sudden now your EV range is completely depleted. I mean, it really sacrifices one of the most important aspects of truck ownership. Is that something you heard a lot from customers who are out there, looking for kind of these adventures for towing boats, RVs, what have you, that they were really frustrated with their mileage because of the towing situation?
Yeah, I mean, how we work is we work with existing trailer manufacturers, and we integrate our technology into their product. So we're not actually making the entire trailer ourselves, but that is so these existing trailer manufacturers would be our customer. And that is something that a lot of them are saying is they have customers that have electric vehicles coming to them and asking, how far can I tow with this electric vehicle? And they don't have a great response to them. They have to tell them that for best case, if these customers have the longest range vehicle, which a lot of them don't, you have to recharge every 150 miles. So it is something they're starting to see more and more, which has helped us get early partners because they have customers asking for a solution and they don't have a solution right now.
Yeah. So let's walk into the Wild product itself. Kind of tell me a little bit about what you guys have built here. Kind of describe some of the core innovation within the trailer platform.
At the highest level, we're developing a trailer that propels itself, as you mentioned. And so the concept here is if the vehicle is moving 60 miles per hour, the trailer is also moving 60 miles per hour. And so the goal would be to allow the user to get close to the original range that they get, or miles per gallon, with our system while towing as they would get while they're not towing. And so what that looks like in our system is four main components. There's the battery and the motor, so that's the electric propulsion system. And then there's what we're calling the power box, and that has a ton of stuff in it, but at the highest level, it's the brain behind the whole system. It has a lot of our power electronics, and it has the main controller. And then the last part is our smart hitch. That's what has a bunch of the sensors that allow us to determine exactly how much power to apply to the motor in the trailer so that we're not pushing the vehicle or the vehicle's not dragging the motor around.
And the process is we co-develop a chassis with our partners, and then they go source that chassis that works with all of those four components from their existing chassis supplier. It's a really quick and simple process. That's our goal. And then we ship the same kit of four parts to all of our partners. So on our end, our manufacturing needs are pretty simple. And it just streamlines the process for them. Because our vision is this goes into as many trailers as we can. So the customers can have choice, and then they also get improved efficiency regardless.
So let's dive into customers. You mentioned working with partners. I'm curious, what markets are you guys targeting with Wild?
Yeah, so we started pretty broad initially, just looking at any trailer industry, and did a lot of research into it and realized, so that meant we looked at semi-truck trailers, construction trailers, boat trailers, landscape trailers, and saw a lot of traction when we reached out to customers within the camper trailer space. And so initially, that's where most of our focus has been. Also happens to be the largest trailer segment in the US. And so we saw that we could make the most impact there. And then the idea is to expand outside of that. So we are seeing interest from construction trailers because there's a lot of unique applications for our technology there. And then from our background within electric vehicles, we've talked to a lot of electric boat companies and are seeing unique applications there as well. But because TechNexus and other partners are focused in camper trailers, that's where we're choosing to focus initially. And there's other reasons for that too. The camper trailer market, we're targeting the ultra premium segment initially. And so there's a lot more room in the cost of the trailer to really implement this technology. So we're talking implementing this into trailers that can cost up to $150,000, which for our technology is marginal in cost compared to that. Construction trailers and boat trailers are a lot more simpler, and so easier, or it's harder to justify our cost right now for implementation in those markets.
Yeah, you mentioned the construction market, right? So it's obvious, to see the benefit of somebody who's going across the country, they're towing their RV, they're towing their boat. But for the construction industry, these are job sites that are, being used every single day, right? They could see a big benefit from an electric trailer platform.
Yes. I mean, yeah, the important distinction is for camper trailers, they're used maybe a few times a year and largely sit in storage or outside, which has applications for our technology. But within the construction space, they're used daily. And so whether it's with an electric vehicle that they're towing or a gas vehicle, the improvements in efficiency really add up when you're using our technology on a daily basis, and therefore the economics of it could really make it quite compelling. Upfront costs might be a lot more, but over the lifetime it gets amortized and actually could save these companies quite a bit of money.
Right. And jumping back to the camper segment, that's something that, camper trailer customers hear a lot, right? Is that like, hey, I'm going to, I've got my car that I'm ready to tow this, camper van or this camper trailer. And now all of a sudden I possibly have to spend more money on a more powerful vehicle
Yeah.
to actually make this thing tow. But what you guys are building is the ability to tow with your existing vehicle. Kind of talk about how that specifically can be, a game changer for the market.
That's something we actually didn't realize, but as we started to just research the market a lot more, you're right. A lot of people, when they buy any type of trailer, they'll also, unless they have a truck, but often they don't have a vehicle that can tow that trailer. And so they'll also buy a vehicle. And we're not talking like a cheap vehicle. Often it's a pretty expensive truck that they'd have to buy in order to tow that camper trailer. And so our technology has the potential, and I think we have phases in terms of in testing the feasibility of this, but uh, there's potential where a user could use a much smaller vehicle to tow these trailers and not have to necessarily upgrade their vehicle in order to tow the trailer. And so there's a huge amount of cost savings that the user or the end customer could benefit from that.
Which, yeah, I mean, is exciting for us because these customers can then save money on buying a new car and put at least some of that money towards the upgrade in implementation, the upgrade to have wild technologies inside their trailer. And that it would maybe be cheaper than buying both the trailer and a new car. And for our partners, that really could open up their market quite a bit because a lot of people actually are turned away because they don't have a big enough truck to tow a lot of their trailers.
And I think what's so fascinating too about what you guys are building is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't really have any direct competitors. I think that's, you guys are
Mhm.
really positioned uniquely in the market.
I think so too. It did take us a while to get to this point. I mean, we considered many other business models and ultimately, through a lot of investigation and thoughtful strategic analysis, I'd say, came to this business model. Uh, and it was nice to be kind of in stealth for the past 3+ years that we've been developing this technology. It allowed us to kind of stay focused internally without kind of having others see what we're doing and maybe being persuaded to do other approaches. But yeah, we're pretty happy with the business model we have and happy that it's unique in a space that's starting to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I would also add that I think the interesting thing about the trailer space is there's just tons of variations. So it's kind of like the clothing industry where there's not one model that sells a ton of units. Every camper trailer manufacturer has dozens of models that they sell to customers. And so it was interesting because it's hard to scale a business where you have a lot of customization. You can do it, but as a new company, that's not exactly what we're looking for. And so the challenge for us was, how do we target this market where there's a lot of customization inherently built in and not necessarily have to do that ourselves? And I think we've really landed on something in terms of how we're approaching it. We don't have to customize anything ourselves. The kit we send to each of our partners is exactly the same, even among different industries. It's the same for camper trailers. It's also the same for our construction trailer partners. And then, like Riley mentioned, we were very intentional about co-designing the chassis. That's where some of the customization has to happen. We'll work with them to design it, but all of these trailer manufacturers have the internal know-how to manufacture that chassis after it's been designed. So I think it's pretty unique in terms of our business model and sets us up well for scaling and success.
Why do you think that nobody has created this product before? Can I talk about how you guys are sort of reinventing this industry?
I mean, it's probably not one thing, but one aspect that stands out to me is that this is combining two very different industries. We're combining the automotive industry, the electric space in particular, with the camper trailer space, and these are industries that were, and it's starting to merge. We're often seen as entirely different worlds, and so I think there's a struggle to get talent to go either way, either having engineers and business folks from the camper trailer space joining the automotive space to build a new type of trailer. And the flip side is true. And it's not just like the education, but it's also physically where a lot of these industries are based. I mean, much of the camper trailer space is based in the Midwest. And a lot of this electric vehicle innovation is happening here in the West, close to where we're at in San Francisco. And so I think there's that element to it. And uh, maybe it's not always been seen as a very compelling space. I think it's one of those hidden gems that once you look into how large the market is and how many trailers are made a year, it's quite surprising and a huge opportunity. And I think from the investor standpoint, what we're seeing is a lot of investors see it as commodity. And our perspective is, yeah, that's probably right now, but every once in a while, a commodity can be disrupted with unique and new technology. And that's something we noticed and we're excited to try to do is disrupt this space by bringing unique technology from our background in the automotive industry to the trailer space.
And I'd say as we dig more and more into it and we talk to more and more partners, it becomes more and more exciting to us in terms of just how much innovation we can actually bring into this space. This is where we're starting, but we see a lot of potential opportunities just to add features and in terms of what we're developing now, but also other products we have in the pipeline for the future.
I'm curious what makes now kind of the perfect moment for Wild. What technological advancements today, particularly whether it's a battery technology or motor technology, have made Wild's innovation possible right now that maybe weren't feasible a decade or more ago?
Yes. So I would say one of the big things is there's just been a lot of innovation happening within the electric mobility space. And so that's where a lot of our technology comes from. And so I think a lot of that, there's been a lot of innovation, but also just the scaling of the technology has allowed the price to come down substantially and continue to come down over the next, I'd say, like decade or beyond. And so I think that aligns very well for how we want to grow this company. Sure, we'll start in the premium space, but as we move forward, we need to get the price down so we can get it into more trailers. And I think just overall, the general industry is headed in that direction too, which will be kind of tailwinds in our cell. And then I think there's just a lot of talent out there that has, and this has helped us substantially. There's a lot of talent out there that has experience within this space. And so developing this technology with fewer people, we're a very lean team, and we're in essence developing an electric vehicle without a steering wheel. We're able to do that because a lot of our team members have a lot of prior experience within the electric vehicle space and can help us develop this technology with rather limited resources. So I think kind of the combination of that has been awesome, has allowed us to really create this technology.
We have the belief as a startup that we are a small team and therefore we have to be very focused on a few select few select things, so we have only so much time, and make those few select things great, and then rely on partners or strategy to for the other components. And so we've very intentionally chosen to just develop the smart hitch in-house that is completely proprietary to Wild. And then a lot of the other three components are intentionally purchased off the shelf and or more focused on our integration of it together into some easy to install package for our partners. And as we grow as a company and progress, we'll start bringing more and more in-house. But as a small team, we've been very intentional in choosing to just develop internally a few things, and mainly that software with the Smart Hitch and controls. And then that's only possible now because the maturity of the electric vehicle space allows us to buy most of the components we need to make this work off the shelf. And they're finally at high volume and where we can buy them at a reasonable price. That wasn't the case just 5 years ago. You'd have to build your battery in-house, which is an incredibly large expense, and then you'd have to likely buy other components at a super high cost if you could find them, or build them in-house. So now is the first time where it's like, okay, these components are available. How do we want to apply them in other applications? And we saw an incredible opportunity within the trailer space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the value proposition that you guys have is so clear, right? It's, hey, we are going to help you tow something as if you are not losing any EV range, as if you're not losing any fuel behind you. What will towing look like in a decade from now and 2 decades from now? It doesn't seem like an industry that would necessarily be ripe for disruption, but it certainly is when you start to think about the power that you guys can bring with a self-propelled, electric trailer platform. What innovations are we going to see in towing over the decades to come?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question and one that I mean, obviously we're trying to figure out, and it's been interesting to talk to our partners and see what their perspective is as the ones that really know the camper trailer space best. Uh, our vision is that all trailers will have a propulsion system and that we need to find a way to make this technology affordable enough to make that happen because all trailers benefit from it. Uh, I mean, one thought we had is maybe in 10 years, trailers are fully autonomous, where you don't actually hitch them to the vehicle. But we think that's maybe more 20 years, but what we see more in the 10-year range is to get batteries and a motor in initially.
Yeah, I would just add in kind of the way I feel like we've been thinking about this is very similar to the electric bikes. I would say maybe 5 years ago, only the premium bikes, the rather expensive bikes, would have an electric propulsion system. And I think nowadays it's much more common where the middle tier bikes have an electric propulsion system. And I think in 5 years it wouldn't be surprising if majority of bikes had some sort of electric propulsion system in them. And I think it's very because there's just efficiency gains and it's a much better user experience. And there will always be bikes that don't have that system, but I think it'll switch from where electric propulsion was less common to electric propulsion is more common than not having it. And I think the trailer space is going to be very similar. There will always be trailers that don't have this system, but I think the benefits of it will be, and the price will come down to the point where it just makes sense that majority of these trailers will have the system in them. So I think, yeah, how long that's going to take, I'm not sure. And that's kind of the sooner the better for us. And that's our goal, to figure out how we can make that happen sooner. But I think there will be a similar trajectory.
Yeah, I think it's part of the beauty of what you guys are building is that you wouldn't think to put an electric battery in a trailer, but once you think about it, it's hard to think, why doesn't every trailer act this way?
Yeah, yes, yep, which, yeah, is a sweet spot.
TechNexus invested in Wild through our corporate partner Thor Industries, the world's largest maker of RVs. How has this partnership and TechNexus's support been beneficial for Wild's development as you guys have grown?
I mean, yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, for those that don't know, Thor Industries is the world's largest manufacturer of camper trailers. And so they have insights that have been invaluable for us to really craft and refine our product to match their customer needs and the needs of the camper trailer space. And so that's been immensely helpful. And then on the TechNexus side, there's the financial backing, but we're first time entrepreneurs. So you have a large team that's just been incredible resource for us to ask for advice and get feedback and really learn what it takes to be a successful startup based on your experience with other portfolio companies working with Thor, but also just your experience and your team's experience within the startup world.
Awesome. So I have to ask, you guys are twin brothers. What is it like building a startup, in Silicon Valley, right in San Francisco? What's it been like working alongside your brother as you guys have been building this business?
Yeah, I mean, it's been nice. We can give each of our own perspectives. I've really enjoyed it because, I mean, I think for any investor or anyone in the startup space, they know how important that relationship is with co-founders. Uh, I feel very fortunate because we know each other very well, and because of that, we work really well together. And through this journey, we've learned more about each other, and part of that is that we're actually quite different, which I think caught us both off guard and a bit by surprise, but in a really nice way. So we complement each other. Where one could improve or lack some ability, the other one makes up for, and vice versa. And I think that makes for a really strong team. And then we're just very aligned, and I think that's important for a startup. Is once we make a decision and come to a conclusion, maybe with a healthy debate, we just move, and we can really execute quite quickly. So we're a tight knit team, and I think that helps us bring on other people. They hopefully have confidence and can relate to one or two of us or the other. And yeah, so it's been fun, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty fortunate that I was born with a co-founder. It, it's uh, it's never. There's obviously times where it's a struggle, and I think with any co-founder it would be that way. But I think the nice thing about being brothers is we can have a healthy debate, be upset with each other, but at the end of the day, uh, yeah, we're brothers, and we're going to be brothers for the rest of our lives. So we don't hold things too personal. So, yeah, I think it's we're both very fortunate.
Yeah, and your professional careers did not start together. You guys were both at independent electric vehicle manufacturers, but then you found your way together to Wild. Was building a startup together always in the family plans?
I mean, I think we thought about it. It wasn't ever certain. Yeah, like you said, after we went to college together and decided we really needed to spend some time apart and find ourselves. So, and then it just kind of worked out that the pandemic happened, and we felt like it was a perfect opportunity really to devote ourselves to a startup. There wasn't much else to do, to be honest, and so spending countless hours on this made a lot of sense. So the timing just worked out, and then you never know. Like these opportunities don't always come by, and I feel fortunate that Justin, we were on board with it, and we saw this opportunity, and we decided to pursue it. And so the stars aligned. It was always in the back of our minds. Definitely not guaranteed, but something we thought we could do.
And you mentioned the pandemic. Obviously, the pandemic was a major catalyst for the outdoor recreation space as everybody was at home and looking to get out of their house. Did that play a role in kind of the genesis for the company and kind of how you guys thought about getting into this market?
It shocked me at that time. I think I became a little bit aware of just how large the recreational vehicle space was, just because there was more publicity around it. And so I had some friends looking at camper trailers and that type of thing. There are probably around 500,000 camper trailers sold per year during the pandemic, and that's pretty mind blowing to me. So I think it made me more aware of just how much opportunity exists within the market.
What's next for Wild? Obviously, you guys had your big demo day in San Francisco, kind of unveiled the product to the public. What's the next major milestone for you guys?
Yeah, so Right now, we're at a point where our hardware is pretty set. Our build process is pre-alpha, alpha, beta, pilot production, and what we call gold, which is when we go to serial production. And so we're currently working between alpha and beta. What we demonstrated at the demo was our alpha unit. And so the next step there is to refine our controls and software and test and validate. We're planning to take it down to Los Angeles to do some thermal testing, and then plan to do a Midwest tour where we'll test and validate the system, but also use it as an opportunity to visit a lot of partners and potential partners to demonstrate our technology firsthand. And then looking into next year, we'll be early about finding ways to start scaling the manufacturing or to start production with our initial partners. And so we can move. What has shocked us coming from the auto space is we can move pretty quick from our initial units to production. And so once we have partners signed on, the goal would be to move into pilot production with them.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Justin, Riley, thanks so much for joining us today. It was great to chat.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was fun to kind of tell our story for the first time.
Yeah, it was great chatting.